Welcome to tonight's show. My goodness, this is a big one. Harris has just completed a Fox interview that went so bad. Her poll numbers are dropping so fast, faster than ever. Bret actually held her to the fire and pushed her on all the questions that everybody's been wanting her to actually answer, and pressed her. And I'm telling you, this is the official end of Kamala Harris's campaign. It was supposed to be a 30-minute interview, but it ended up only being like 15 minutes because they were late and then they delayed it. And then on top of that, we actually have video of her actually being caught on video pressing an earpiece during one of her interviews that it was almost falling out. This is the thing that everybody's talked about. Was this true or not? Was she being fed the answers? And we actually have the video of that. To me, this is the nail in the coffin for the Harris campaign. On top of that, the Biden-Harris administration is now sending another $425 million to Ukraine for security assistance. I mean, it's not like people still need help from the two hurricanes, Helene and Milton, that we just experienced, and we're still only giving them a measly $750, and that's only if you get approved. And now Trump is now officially leading in all swing states, according to the betting markets, to the poly market polls. This is a big, big day for the campaign. This, to me, is what's going to mark the end of the Harris campaign. We've got a lot of breaking news tonight. Just want to say thank you to everybody that's watching. If you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. And if you don't mind, click the thumbs up like button. It really does help to grow the channel. And just want to say thank you to all of our members, just like Joyce Massa, who just joined the True Life News family. Thank y'all so much. We're growing an amazing community. The link is in the description to join. Everybody show Joyce some love in the chat. And thank you to everybody that gives a super chat donation to the channel. We're going to do some amazing things with this channel and giving back. But I know you're waiting for all this. Harris dropping out. There's already videos circulating now. Obama talking to a lot of people. I'm telling you, tonight's going to be a big, big one. Check this out.
Sat down for her first Fox News interview with Bret. Now, she clearly wasn't prepared to answer the real questions.
How many illegal immigrants would you estimate your administration has released into the country over the last 3.5 years?
Well, I'm glad you raised the issue of immigration, because I agree with you. It is a topic of discussion that people want to rightly have. And you know what I'm going to talk about.
Yeah, but do you, just a number, do you think it's 1 million, 3 million?
Bret, let's just get to the point. Okay, the point is that we have a broken immigration system that needs to be repaired.
So your Homeland Security Secretary said that 85% of apprehensions.
I'm not finished. We have an
it's a rough
immigration
estimate of
system
6 million people have been released into the country. And let me just finish. I'll get to the question. I promise you.
I was beginning to answer.
She is the sitting vice president of the United States who was put in charge of the border. What, in the first month that they were in office? And she will not answer a direct and simple question. It is her responsibility to know. She would not take responsibility, though, for anything that really happened during her time in office. Certainly not for the invasion that she unleashed on our country.
Looking back, do you regret the decision to terminate Remain in Mexico at the beginning of your administration?
At the beginning of our administration, within practically hours of taking the oath, the first bill that we offered Congress, practically within hours of taking the oath, was a bill to fix our immigration system.
Yes, ma'am. It was called the U.S. Citizenship Act of 2021.
Exactly.
It was essentially a pathway to citizenship for the...
Yes, ma'am. May I finish responding, please? You have to let me finish,
You had the White House and the House and the Senate, and they didn't bring up that bill.
I'm in the middle of responding to the point you're raising.
Okay.
So if you didn't catch that, he said you had the White House, the Senate, and Congress. You had House. You had everything. You could have passed it, yet you never brought it up. So everything you're basically saying is a bunch of...
I'd like to finish.
Yes, ma'am.
We recognized from day one that, to the point of this being your first question, it is a priority for us as a nation and for the American people. And our focus has been on fixing a problem.
Okay. This is an issue that yours truly has been focusing on for, 25 years or so. Here's the deal. She knows this is incredibly damaging to her campaign. She knows that she cannot tout her record on the border. So what she does instead is she shifts. She just moves to the same old cliches. Oh, we have a broken immigration system. Oh, we signed on to the Langford bill, which, of course, on the angle you saw, we completely exposed it for the fraud that it was. Bret pointed out that under that bill, still 1.8 million migrants could be waved into the country. You wouldn't have to declare an emergency unless it was 1.8 million people who had crossed in. So it wasn't really a border bill, it was an immigration bill. But she can't really speak to the details, despite the fact that, again, she's the border czar. And again, she points herself into the same radical direction that she was in back in 2019, where people saw her back then as the true radical. She's still a true radical. That's why she refuses to renounce her policies.
To immigration, you supported allowing immigrants in the country illegally to apply for a driver's license, to qualify for free tuition at universities, to be enrolled in free health care. Do you still support those things?
Listen, that was 5 years ago, and I'm very clear that I will follow the law. I have made that statement over and over again, and as Vice President of the United States, that's exactly what I've done, not to mention before.
She gonna follow the law, everybody. When it comes to doing all this stuff, she's gonna follow the law. Thank you so much, The British Perspective, for the super chat. Everybody, show The British Perspective some love in the chat. They say she wants to run the country, yet she has a magnificent obsession with bad-mouthing Trump instead of answering questions. 100%.
If that's the case, you chose a running mate, Tim Walz, governor of Minnesota, who signed those very things into state law. So do you support that?
We are very clear, and I am very clear, as is Tim Walz.
No, you're not.
That we must support and enforce federal law, and that is exactly what we will do.
What the heck does that even mean?
All right, joining us now, Eric Trump, Executive Vice President of the Trump Organization. So, Eric, she refuses to give an answer. I just keep going back to how many people have y'all let into the country? She will not answer that question. Your response just
Laura,
on that point.
I mean, Laura, the only thing that's very clear, using what she said over and over again, I've been very clear, is why she hasn't done an interview in 46 days, because she can't answer these questions, right? I mean, that was so apparent tonight.
Nothing.
Bret asked her a simple question. Do you support, sex changes for illegal incarcerated immigrants?
Yeah, we're going to get
Bret,
to that.
I'm going to follow the law. No, do you support it? You know what Donald Trump would have said? No, I do not support it. Bret, I do not support it. That's what Donald Trump would have said. And she's wandering all over the place. Then she gets out the, yes, border security is very important to me. If border security was so important to you, why did you fly 320,000 people on private planes into airports all across the country in the middle of the night? If border security was so important to you, why did you sell the border wall, meaning the slats of steel, right, that my father had built? Why did you sell it for scrap metal to the lowest bidder, right? Why did you sell off the wall? If border security was so important to you, why did you turn off all the security cameras that are on these massive poles 100 yards behind the wall, so that people couldn't see the invasion that's happening at the southern border, right? And it's a hell of a lot more than 6 million people. I mean, 6 million people that were let go in the United States, but over 20 million people have come into the United States, including, 320,000 deaths this year, Laura, of fentanyl deaths of our youth in this country who have been poisoned based on the fact that we have that person right there who can't answer a damn question and clearly does not care about the issues at hand. That, Laura Ingraham, is why she has not done an interview in 46 days other than Call Her Daddy podcast as a Category 5 hurricane is about to hit the great state of Florida. It's a joke. This country deserves so much better than what we just saw.
Yeah, I mean...
And I'm telling you this, the country is showing itself right now. The betting markets right now, higher than ever before, and they're even gaining even more. Check this out. Ever since she's done the interview, it's gone up. It was at 57, now it's over 58% that Donald Trump is going to win. Why? Because Harris cannot do a dank interview. She can't answer a question. She's been protected by the media, and when she's actually asked the real questions, she gives the stupidest answers when saying, would you support illegals getting driver's license? We're going to follow the law. Do you support giving them free tuition to go to college? Illegals. We're going to follow the law. Do you support sex changes for inmates? We're going to follow the law. What kind of answer is that? And I'm telling you this, what you're about to see next is what we have to be prepared for, because it's looking really good on the front when it comes to all the polling and all that we're seeing, but there's something else happening behind the scenes. Check this out.
Scott Jennings, I have no idea. I have no idea how they keep letting him on the air. This guy goes on CNN and speaks the truth. Here he is saying exactly that. Like, hey, Kamala, you really sure you want to rock and roll with this medical records thing? Because I'm not sure this is really a winning argument for you. Check this out.
I think a couple things. Number one, if I were Harris, I wouldn't be leaning too heavily into who's hiding what kind of medical conditions of people who are or want to be the president, given her role in lying about the condition of Joe Biden for the last 4 years. That's number one. Number two, I don't think this works for her. I think I'm back in the same bucket I was earlier. You're not selling your own candidacy. You're punching Donald Trump in the same way every other Democrat we've ever heard from for the last 8-9 years has punched this guy. That's not the problem with your campaign. We've heard all the attacks on Trump. If she cannot sell her own candidacy any better than just punching on him, I'm for her. If I were in her camp, I just don't know it's going to be enough. That's my view.
But here,
you know, I really like this guy. I've never met him, folks, by the way. A lot of these people, you know, you run into people in green rooms and stuff. If you're in, you know, it's no different if you're a local carpenter. You're at a job site. You see the same HVAC people over and over.
Brenda Burciago, welcome to the True Life News family. Everybody show Brenda some love in the chat.
When you do this and, you know, you travel over, you meet the same crowd. I've never met this guy. At least I don't think I have. What did he say there that was wrong? You have thrown every single argument at Donald Trump. Oh, my gosh, he's a felon. He's an outlaw. He did this. He did that. Well, none of it's actually true. You made it all up. And this is your closing argument? I need to see his cholesterol. This is your closing argument. You're like, you know, Dr. Joey Bag of Donuts. We need to see your cholesterol levels, sir. This is it? This is the best you got. I've got an idea. Let's see the amyloid plaque levels of Joe Biden's brain, and let's ask Kamala Harris how she didn't realize there were physical manifestations to an amyloid problem via some kind of dementia issue. Let's ask that, and then we'll get to Donald Trump's cholesterol levels. This is not an argument, folks. You know what it is? It's this. What am I doing? Dan Hampton sent me a football one time. The Chicago Bears who had love. Dan Hampton sent me over. It's a Hail Mary. It's all this is. They don't know what to do. They're wall to see what sticks and what doesn't. I want to get to some really important stuff. This segment here is critical. I gave you a lot of good news here in the beginning of the show. The Border Patrol soundbite, we're not doing, I think, in my opinion, is devastating. The campaign collapse, the chaos, the Bloomberg event, everything yesterday went right for Donald Trump. Knock on wood, it continues, foot on the gas. The bad news, folks, they are going to cheat. There are 12 million illegals in the country.
This is big, y'all.
Probably, honestly, more, but I'll play it on the low end so we can't be accused of bias or anything, right? Say there's 12 million, it's probably 20. If even 1% of them vote, it's a lot of people. And especially in a tight election, it can hurt. If they try to vote or if someone votes for them on a ballot. That's what liberals don't talk about. Oh, illegals won't vote. They know it's illegal. Yeah, what if someone gets a ballot and votes for them? I didn't think of that, man. That's why the state of Virginia and the Republican governor you're going to see here, his name is, he's a Republican, Glenn Youngkin, is trying to clean up the rolls, saying something really simple. We have a form If you cannot say you're a citizen, you cannot register to vote. You never believe it. The Biden administration, actually you will because you know they're hacks, is suing the state of Virginia to make sure said illegals, not citizens also can, because it's not always the same thing. Some people could be in the legal process but not citizens yet. Some are just illegal. You still can't register. They're suing the state of Virginia, the Biden team.
Yeah, it's getting
Now,
really deep,
Glenn
y'all.
Youngkin went on CNN and corrected the record here. They've given people multiple chances to just say one simple thing. This is going to be a fact sheet for you on what this law is, because liberals are already freaking out, telling people, oh, no, this is going to kick people and purge the rolls, kick people off. No, you get multiple chances to fix it. Youngkin does a masterful job on CNN correcting the record here. Check this out.
Why not just honor that 90-day period?
Well, let me just first begin. It's anything but a purging program. It begins with someone identifying themselves as a non-citizen. And I guess I would posit back to you, do you think that non-citizens, when they've self-identified as a non-citizen, should stay on the voter roll and therefore be in a position to potentially vote in a presidential election?
I don't think any non-citizen should vote. How are they self-identifying? How does that happen?
They actually tick a box that says, I am a non-citizen, or they do not answer the question that they are a citizen. And therefore, they self-identify that they are not a citizen in the United States of America. And this is...
But yet they're still on the voter rolls. Why is that? I'm telling y'all, there's been widespread NGOs that have been going around at the border, at the DMVs, and whenever these illegals come in, they get them to fill out a registration form. Y'all don't, I mean, this is the thing that I wish people would see, is that they are 100% not in the right here. They have put tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of non-citizens on the voter rolls. They need to be purged, but right here, a governor of the United States of America is fighting the Justice Department to keep its voter rolls clean. You don't think they're trying to cheat?
Why this is so out of bounds in my mind from the Justice Department. They fully understand this. They understand the process starts with a person self-identifying as a non-citizen, and then there is a match with that person's name on the voter rolls, and they are given not just one, but up to 3 times in order to try to cure it. And this is why I find this to be a very, very unreal moment that is stunning, that they filed this suit 25 days before a presidential election, when in fact this has been going on in accordance with our Constitution, the federal Constitution, and state law since 2006.
Folks, you're given multiple opportunities to tell people you're a citizen of the United States and you don't take it, then you don't go on the voter rolls. It's as simple as that. Why does the Biden administration, why are they suing? They are suing because they want non-citizens and illegals on the voting rolls.
100%.
That's what has me concerned about this upcoming election. Also, folks,
I'm telling you this, like, it really bothers me. This just came out that this administration is not a America First administration. This came out today. Right here, Biden administration announces additional security assistance for Ukraine. At the bottom right here, $425 million. This is not a joke. There's people that have lost everything and they can't even get a simple $750 check. Yet we're continuing to fuel the industrial war complex for almost $500 million. And yet we can't give people more than $750. I'm telling you this, out of the whole entire interview that happened, this comes from the administration. Watch this, because to me, this is the nail in the coffin. Check it out.
Frankly, exhausted of Bret.
More than
people
70% of people
exhausted.
tell the country is on the wrong track. They say the country is on the wrong track.
79%.
If it's on the wrong track, that track follows 3.5 years of you being vice president and President Biden being president. That is what they're saying, 79% of them. Why are they saying that? If you're turning the page, you've been in office for 3.5 years.
And Donald Trump has been running for office.
But you've been the person.
What does that have to do with this?
Madam
You
Vice
and I
President.
both know what I'm talking about.
Watch
you
this.
and I both know what I'm talking about.
I actually don't. What are you talking about?
What I'm talking about is that over the last decade,
But you're
people
the
have
lever of
become.
power.
But listen, Over the last decade, it is clear to me, and certainly the Republicans who are on stage with me, frankly.
She said, you know what I'm talking about? No, I actually don't know what you're talking about. What the heck are you talking about? This is what I love. Like, we finally had somebody who was willing, and they actually met her. This is why I feel like something's about to happen. This, I think with the Harris campaign, with Walz, with everything that's showing up, we're about to see something, and it's going to be huge, and it's going to be big, that's going to shake up this election race because it's going too bad for the Democrats. Check this out.
Covering the Kamala campaign's been disorienting. First, she was the most unpopular VP in history. Then she's Mrs. Messiah. Her record's radical left. Then she agrees with Trump, but her values haven't changed, okay? Her VP's wooing white dudes and Obama's scolding the brothers. She hid from CNN for 5 weeks. Then she turned down the Fox debate. Now she's playing footsie with Rogan and begging to come on Fox. Well, be careful what you wish for, because Kamala Harris just sat down with Bret for a half hour, and she was roughed up so badly, Pelosi's asking Joe to get back in.
How many illegal immigrants would you...
Hold up, y'all. I'm telling you, can you see Joe Biden getting back into the race because Kamala Harris is doing so bad?
Estimate your administration has released into the country over the last 3.5 years?
Well, I'm glad you raised the issue of immigration because I agree with you. It is a topic of discussion that people want to rightly have. And you know what I'm going to talk about.
Yeah, but
right
do you,
now,
just a number, do you think it's 1 million, 3 million?
Bret, let's just get to the point, okay? The point is that we have a broken immigration system that needs to be repaired.
So your Homeland Security Secretary said that 85% of apprehensions...
I'm not finished. We have an
it's a rough
immigration
estimate of
system
6 million people have been released into the country. And let me just finish. I'll get to the question, I promise you.
I was beginning to answer.
And when you came into office, your administration immediately reversed a number of Trump border policies.
Yep.
So looking back, do you regret the decision to terminate Remain in Mexico at the beginning of your administration?
The first bill, practically within hours of taking the oath, was a bill to fix our immigration system.
Yes, ma'am. It was called the U.S. Citizenship Act of 2021.
Exactly.
It was essentially a pathway to citizenship for the...
Finish,
yes, ma'am.
May I finish responding, please? But you have to let me finish,
You
please.
had the White House and the House and the Senate, and they didn't bring up that bill.
I'm in the middle of responding to the point you're raising, and I'd like to finish.
Yes, ma'am.
We recognized from day one that, to the point of this being your first question, it is a priority for us as a nation and for the American people. And our focus has been on fixing a problem.
This was the first time the vice president and the Democrat nominee had ever had to answer for herself. She spent more time defending herself with Bret than she has defending the actual border. Then it got personal.
Former President Clinton actually referred to Laken Riley Sunday campaigning for you in Georgia, saying if those men had been properly vetted, Laken Riley probably would not have been killed. So if it wouldn't have happened, this is well before any negotiation. This is well before Donald Trump got involved in the politics. This is a specific policy decision by your administration to release these men into the country. So what I'm saying to you, do you owe
Bret,
those families an apology?
Let me just say, first of all, those are tragic cases. There's no question about that. There's no question about that. And I can't imagine the pain that
those families' blood that lost their loved ones is on her and Joe Biden's hands.
Families of those victims have experienced for a loss that should not have occurred. So that is true. It is also true that if a border security had actually been passed 9 months ago, it would be 9 months that we would have had more border agents at the border, more support for the folks who are working around the clock trying to hold it all together.
Bret is giving Kamala an opportunity to say if she were president, Laken Riley would have been alive. Kamala should have said that's something I would have done differently than Biden. I would have secured the border much earlier, but I was just the VP serving at the pleasure of the president. And if you vote for me, I promise I'll protect women like Laken Riley. At this stage of the campaign, saying, I'm sorry about the dead woman on my watch, it's all Trump's fault, it's not going to fly. Harris has never been pressed this hard on her border policies.
Never.
And it continued.
Madam Vice President, it was a policy decision in the early part of your administration. I will let one of the mothers talk about it. Take a listen.
Because of the Biden-Harris administration open border policies catch and release, they were enrolled in the Alternatives to Detention program. This meant that they were released into the United States. It was not even a full 3 weeks later that they would take my daughter, Jocelyn Nungare's life. I believe the Biden-Harris administration open border policies are responsible for the death of my daughter.
That's the early days. So do you owe them an apology is what I'm saying.
I will tell you that I am so sorry for her loss. I am so sorry for her loss. Sincerely. But let's talk about what is happening right now with an individual who does not want to participate in solutions. Let's talk about that as well.
But do you want to answer
in
her?
all fairness, I told you, I feel awful for what she and her family have experienced.
During that time, you said repeatedly that the border was secure. When in your mind did it start becoming a crisis?
I think we've had a broken immigration system transcending, by the way, Donald Trump's administration, even before. Let's all be honest about that. I have no pride in saying that this is a perfect immigration system. I've been clear, I think we all are, that it needs to be fixed.
Kamala just said the border's always been broken, but it was secure for 3 years when Laken Riley was murdered. That doesn't make any sense. How did Trump break the border that you said was secure? You can't follow Kamala's logic because there is none. She doesn't know anything about the border. She doesn't care about the border. She just doesn't want anyone talking about it. Her whole interview was a continuation of a cover-up. Watch.
Madam Vice President, you call Donald Trump.
The significance of that.
You call Donald Trump. He's misguided. You say now
he's unstable. He is unstable, Bret.
He's not well. You say he's mentally not stable.
He's not stable.
Let me ask you this. You told many interviewers that Joe Biden was on his game, that ran around circles on his staff. When did you first notice that President Biden's mental faculties appeared diminished?
Joe Biden, I have watched from the Oval Office to the Situation Room. And he has the judgment and the experience to do exactly what he has done in making very important decisions on behalf of the American people.
There were no concerns raised?
Bret, Joe Biden is not on the ballot.
I understand.
And Donald Trump
but
is.
You talked about it.
And Donald Trump
After George Clooney said within a few minutes of talking to President Biden at a fundraiser that he thought this was not the same Joe Biden that we saw on the debate stage.
Donald Trump is on the ballot.
I understand. You met with him at least once a week for 3.5 years. You didn't have any concerns?
I think the American people have a concern about Donald Trump.
So Kamala Harris didn't want to talk about Kamala Harris, and she definitely didn't want to talk about Joe Biden. She never once touted the accomplishments of the Biden administration. Not a single one. She just wants to prosecute Donald Trump. But America doesn't want to prosecute her. We want a president. At one point, she just snapped.
This is a democracy. And in a democracy, the President of the United States, in the United States of America, should be willing to be able to handle criticism without saying he'd lock people up for doing it. And this is what is at stake, which is why you have someone like the former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff saying what Mark Milley has said about Donald Trump being a threat to the United States of America.
Why didn't we see anger like that about the border, about prices, about crime? Never kind of showed that flash of anger when it was affecting millions of Americans. She wasn't likable. She wasn't charming. She was never funny. She wasn't warm. There was nothing gracious, eloquent, or reassuring about this performance.
Nothing.
Then Bret asked her the question that she's had a week, actually the whole campaign, to think about. Watch this.
So, you're not Joe Biden, you're not Donald Trump, but nothing comes to mind that you would do differently?
Let me be very clear. My presidency will not be a continuation of Joe Biden's presidency. And like every new president that comes in to office, I will bring my life experiences, my professional experiences, and fresh and new ideas. I represent a new generation of leadership. I, for example, am someone who has not spent the majority of my career in Washington, D.C.
Okay, she spent 8 years in Washington, D.C. That's twice as long as Trump. And what would you do differently? She said she'd bring fresh new ideas. Then she never said what the ideas were.
Your campaign slogan is a new way forward, and it's time to turn the page. You've been vice president for 3.5 years, so what are you turning the page from?
Well, first of all, turning the page from the last decade in which we've been burdened with the kind of rhetoric coming from Donald Trump that has been designed and implemented to divide our country and have Americans literally point fingers at each other.
Madam Vice President, more than 70% of people
that is
tell
about
pollsters,
turning the page on rhetoric that people are frankly exhausted of, Bret.
If you're turning the page, you've been in office for 3.5 years.
And Donald Trump has been running for office.
But you've been the person holding the office.
Come on.
Madam
You
Vice
and I
President.
both know what I'm talking about. You and I both know what I'm talking about.
I actually don't. What are you talking about?
What I'm talking about is that over the last decade,
He said, I don't know what you're talking about.
people
You're the
have
lever of
become,
power.
but listen, over the last decade, it is clear to me, and certainly the Republicans who are on stage with me, the former chief of staff to the president, Donald Trump, former defense secretaries, national security advisor, and his vice president. One, that he is unfit to serve, that he is unstable, that he is dangerous.
So turning the page isn't turning the page from Biden. She's going to do everything the same. She's just turning the page from Trump, who wasn't in office. Her slogans don't even make sense because 79% of the country wants to turn the page from her. This is what an actual Kamala Harris interview should look like.
100%.
Bret gave her the same treatment as he gave Trump in the spring. Respectful, firm, and persistent. We didn't swap her answers to make her look better like CBS. We didn't invite little Timmy along to hold her hand like CNN. This was a big girl interview. And she flopped.
And it just broke. This just broke on X. I mean, I love this. We're saying this stuff live as it happens. It just broke that they were trying to stop the interview. It was like halfway through. Check this out. I love this because you're not going to see this anywhere else. Like everything that we're seeing in real time is happening. But this, to me, is again why it was such a train wreck. Remember, I told you, she was late to the interview. She was supposed to be there at 5. She got there late. It was supposed to be 30. Ended up being more than like 15. Check this out.
Dana, you've been on the other side. You've been on the rapper as a press secretary interviewing a president. And, you know, I'm talking like 4 people waving their hands like it's got to stop. So, Martha,
America doesn't trust.
I had to dismount there at the end. There's so many things, and she maybe should do more of these.
Madam Vice President,
And
they're giving me a hard rap
Well,
here.
I thank you for the time.
I thank you for the time.
Good to meet you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So how messed up is that? Not only did we not even get a full interview from her, but yet her team cut the interview short because she was doing so bad. She was getting so upset with the interview because they were actually asking her truthful answers. And that's why, updated for you right now, you're getting to see it just went up another 0.1%. Donald Trump is beating in the betting odds in the poly market. Harris, 58.5 to 41.3, almost a 20-point lead. This is huge. Let's show some love for Trump actually getting some more wins on this with the like button, y'all. Check this out. Because I got more for you right this. All this is coming out. We got it for you right here.
America doesn't trust Kamala with the economy, so how does she explain that?
Why do you think more people say they trust him on the economy than they trust you?
I think that when you look at an analysis of our plans for what we would do as President of the United States, it has been clear to those who study and understand how economic policy works that moving forward, because I do believe the American people are ready to turn the page on the divisiveness and the type of rhetoric that has come out of Donald Trump. People are ready to chart a new way forward, and they want a president who has a plan for the future and a plan that is sound and will strengthen our country.
All right, you heard that right. Kamala's economic plan is to turn the page on divisiveness. That's why nobody trusts her. She has no plan. Trump's got one. It's tariff time. Here's Cantor Fitzgerald CEO Howard Lutnick to explain.
Tariffs are an amazing tool by the president to use. It's a bargaining chip. We can't sell a Ford or GM in Europe. You go to Europe, you can't sell a Ford or GM. Why? There's 100% tariffs. How about in Japan? 100% tariffs. So do you think if we said, we're going to tariff you the way you tariff us, do you think they're going to allow Mercedes and all these Japanese companies and Porsches and BMWs to all of a sudden have 100% tariffs in America? Of course not. They're going to come and negotiate, and their tariffs are going to come down.
Prices come down.
O'Leary Ventures chairman and Shark Tank investor Kevin O'Leary. Now, Kevin, are you a tariff man?
I am, actually, in the case of China. I don't like tariffs generally, but China, we're in an economic war with. There's 100% that's the case. They don't play by a level playing field. I do business there, so this is not academic study I'm talking about. I've been screwed by the Chinese now for 20 years. I'm just one investor, one player there. They don't allow you to use their IP, protect your IP there. But I'll make a point about one situation that every American knows. Everybody loves TikTok, right? We've declared it Chinese spyware in Congress. January 19th, midnight, it has to be shut down. The Supreme Leader himself is using our court system to sue us in the United States to stop that from happening. Do you think I can do that in China? No. So what I suggest, and listen, this is just for China, I'd like to raise tariffs beyond what Trump is talking about. I'd like to go blowtorch heat on them, 400% on everything, bring them to their knees. In 48 hours, the Supreme Leader will be here in America saying, just kidding about this, let's work it out, because we can't do the same thing that they're doing to us. I can't use their laws to protect my IP. And frankly, I think we should settle this now. We are in an economic war with them.
Yes.
Why don't we just admit it? We tried for so many administrations for 40 years to make peace and say, let's give them democracy, they'll be okay with us. They are screwing us. Let's hit them hard while they're down. Their economy has fractures. I'm a big guy for asking Trump, no, not 27%, 400%. Here's why that works. Changes behavior. You want to get new yoga mats? You're not going to buy them from China when it's 400%. You'll go to Vietnam, you'll go to India. Let's hit them hard now. Listen, this is not normally how I
$100 yoga
act.
mat. You'd rather just
No,
lay
it's
on a field of grass.
$400 yoga mat. You'll never buy it from China. The Supreme Leader will get the joke in 48 hours. Please, let's do this. I'm just one guy, but I'm an actual investor dealing with this, and they are screwing me. And I'm just tired of it after 40 years.
All right, we got to stop screwing around with O'Leary. He's going to take a blowtorch, hit him with a 400% tariff, bring them to their knees, see you at the negotiating table. We'll straighten it out year one, right? We got it.
48 hours. 48 hours.
48 hours.
48 hours.
All right. Kevin O'Leary, thank you as always.
Let's go. Let me tell you this, guys. I'm telling you, this night's a crazy night. All this stuff that's popping off that's happening. I want to welcome some new family members to the True Life News family. And also let me give some thanks to Must Love Dogs for the super chat, to Tessa Bridwell, Lee Lewis, and also Terry A. Niles. Thank you for the super chat. Let's go. Let me show you this. Somebody posted this, and this is the God honest truth. This is what's happening in the campaign right now. Check this out. They said if Kamala Harris falls behind in the polls, she will have to do more media interviews. But if she does more media interviews, she will fall further behind in the polls. It's a doom loop. It's 100% happening. There's not been one positive interview that she has done. She has royally screwed up her entire campaign because she's just such a bad candidate. Check. Hey, Lou Lewis again with the super chat. Everybody, lay some love in the chat. Check this out.
Founder of America First Legal, former senior advisor to President Trump. Stephen, Kamala is constantly demonizing Donald Trump, yet, of course, he's polling better than he ever has before. Watch how she responds when Bret actually pointed this out.
Why is half the country supporting him? Why is he beating you in a lot of swing states? Why, if he's as bad as you say, that half of this country is now supporting this person who could be the 47th president of the United States? Why is that happening?
This is an election for president of the United States. It's not supposed to be easy.
Are they misguided, the 50%?
Listen,
Are they stupid? What is it?
I would never say that about the American people. And in fact, if you listen to Donald Trump, if you watch any of his rallies, he's the one who tends to demean.
Stephen, running for president's not supposed to be easy. You call the guy a fascist, then you complain about his rhetoric. We're going to get into that aspect coming up in the angle, but what about her response there?
Well, that was one of the most devastating clips from this interview, but this entire interview was an absolute catastrophe for Kamala Harris. It was the first time that she's ever been substantively pressed by an interviewer on any of her policy positions, and she did not have one coherent answer the entire time. And that clip you just played, of course she cannot explain why if one word that she says is true, why Donald Trump is now more popular than ever. She can't explain it because she knows she's lying. She knows it's a smear campaign. She knows it's a defamation campaign. She knows it's hoaxes all the way down. But of course she can't admit that, so she has nothing. In question after question after question, she had no answers from the first minute of the interview when Bret just asked her, how many illegals have you let into the country?
No.
And she has no clue. Could you imagine running for president and not even knowing in the last 4 years how many illegals you let in? I mean, it's one disqualifying moment after another.
I mean, that was disingenuous. She knows how many. She's not a dumb person. Maybe she's not a good campaigner, but she's not a totally dumb person. She knows basically, what is it, 7, 8 million, 10 million, 15? I mean, she knows generally how many. But again, she knows her record is really indefensible to at least half the country. And so you can't talk about your record because you need to peel away a few percentage points, right? So you
the record is so bad, they always just told her, just steer the question to Trump. Steer the question to how bad Trump is. Just keep steering it. And that's exactly what we saw during this interview because she didn't answer any question. And even when they brought up Lake and Riley and all those other people, she was sympathetic to, she said she was sorry, but she never said we shouldn't have done the border policies the way that we did.
She didn't talk about why her economic record with Biden is going to raise people's standard of living. I mean, I didn't hear any hope at all in this interview, really. Well, where was the hope? Where was the joy? And where was the love?
She can't sell any hope, any joy, any love because, as you mentioned, she has sewn herself at the hip to the last 4 years, not merely by virtue of being the co-pilot for 4 years, but by saying that she wouldn't change a single thing. So she owns inflation, she owns Afghanistan, she owns the October 7th attack, she owns the Russian invasion of Ukraine, she owns the record inflation, the joblessness, the crime, all of it. And, you talk about showing some love. She had a moment in that interview where she could have shown love for her fellow citizens when Bret confronted her with the fact that she set free the 2 illegal alien men who attacked, strangled, and murdered Jocelyn Ungary. She could have shown some humanity and said, we should have never released them, we take full responsibility, I show complete remorse. But she didn't. She refused to take accountability.
Yeah, we might have, I don't know if we have that soundbite, but if we don't have it, okay. But her answer basically was like, she said, I feel terrible. I feel, I'm so sorry for their loss, which of course she has to say.
I'm sorry
and maybe to some extent.
I shouldn't have let those monsters into the country.
Well,
and that's killed her. That she let in.
And that story has been sadly repeated so many times, countless times, of people brutalized at the hands of illegals. But again, there is no defending their economic record or their record on the border, the number 1 and number 2 issues and inflation thrown in there. They can't defend any of that. So all they can do is say Donald Trump is terrible, mean. It's like a version of mean tweets, right? It's back again. And that's all she can do. I mean, so it's the same rinse, repeat over and over again. But I don't see how anyone watching that interview with Bret thinks that their standard of living is going to improve over the next 4 years if Kamala Harris becomes president. Am I missing something that she said that would indicate the economy is going to take off?
No, and this is the thing. We've already seen it. People's number one issue in America is what? It's the economy. Number one issue. And then if you're women, it's abortion. And number 3 is immigration. And this is where Donald Trump is winning big time. On top of that, we're also seeing that people are fed up that there's no America first mentality with the current administration. They keep seeing them hand out tons and hundreds and billions of dollars to everybody else, but they won't do it to Americans. Just like this, when Kamala Harris was asked on Charlemagne's podcast, the lady asked her, she said, well, we keep seeing that you keep handing out money to other countries. Why won't you stop doing that and just give it to Americans first? She said, why don't you do that? And then Kamala Harris's answer was, we can do both. No, you can't. That's the whole point of it. Mr. Tracy J. Norby with the super chat. He said Kamala has the worst track record of all VPs. She had failed at the whole job she was handed on a silver platter. I'm sure glad now she finally got a few hard questions and failed miserably 100%. Y'all show Mr. Norby some love in the chat. Y'all check this out.
Well, it's official. Kamala's got a man problem. But assistant coach Walz, he's in denial. He's been out wooing white dudes and says, there's no problem. So let's talk to a man with no problems, Hulk Hogan. How you doing, Hulk?
I'm great, brother. How are you today?
I'm doing great now that you're in town. Tell me about being a man. The Democrats can't really figure it out. I don't know what's going on. What's the truth?
Well, the way it goes, brothers, in the Bible, it says, listen to where people are speaking from, and you'll know exactly who they are. So when they say that Kid Rock and Hulk Hogan and stuff like that doesn't make Trump one with the people or a blue-collar worker, if you listen to where people are speaking from and you put Buttigieg up there, Trump definitely wouldn't be a man of the people. That's how it really is, brother. But by the way, just to correct you, Jesse Waters, I know about Waters and your world and all that stuff. Well, this is Trump-a-mania, and this is his country, brother.
All right, I'll give it to him just for this show, but not after that. I'm going to be taking it back. We saw you ripping your shirt off at the RNC. You know, they've been saying that men that lift weights are fascists. Can you just kind of remind Democrats, because they didn't used to be like this, can you remind Democrats what American men are made of?
Well, brother, at the end of the day, you know, there's a chain of command, our Lord and Savior, the wife and the husband and the kids. At the end of the day, the mother is to nourish, but the man is to protect, serve, and provide. So at the end of the day, that's what this is all about, is being a real man, being a real American, and getting this country and making it not how it used to be, but how it should be, brother.
100%.
When you knew Donald Trump back in the day, you guys were running around the country at events, and he was all in your business out there in the ring. And tell me a little bit about Donald Trump when you first met him.
Well, when I first met him, we rented Trump Plaza for WrestleMania 4 and 5. He was at the event from the beginning to the end, and I learned a lot from him, brother, how he handled special kids, how he would talk with the Make-A-Wish kids, and not just give a moment of his time with them. He would spend plenty of time with them, touch them, talk to them, make them feel very comfortable. He's a good man all the way around, brother. He's a good person and a real American.
Your patriotism's up there with pretty much, I don't know, I can't even compare it. What made you fall in love with this country?
Well, I grew up in South Tampa, and from very humble beginnings. You know, my mom was a housewife, my dad worked construction, but I really never knew where we were at on the food chain as far as our economic ladder. And so once I got out from under, you know, going to high school and college, I got into professional wrestling and made my way. And at the end of the day, this was the land of opportunity for me, because instead of once a month having a small little minute steak to eat, I told myself I never wanted to live like that. I wanted to make my way and make my life. And this country gave me that opportunity. So the American dream is what this country's all about. And Donald Trump represents that, brother.
Now, Kamala Harris is out there eating steaks, slinging beers with Stephen Colbert. I don't know if her drinking beer is going to really change votes. Do you?
Well, at the end of the day, when I hear the word salad over and over, and she won't even answer a question from Bret. She won't even say how many people have come across the border, during her administration. Everything is like that with them. They won't answer the questions. They won't step up to the plate, and they won't even let the American people know what their plan is. So at the end of the day, if you want more of the same, you go down that route. But if you want America the way it should be, you vote for Donald Trump.
All right. And
100%. And I'm telling you this, like the machine is breaking. So there was actually a CNN interview that happened where this conservative radio host goes on and they just have it out. I mean, it gets super intense. They're going back and forth. I mean, it got bad, y'all. I mean, to the point where I'm so surprised they actually said the words on live air that they said, and we're gonna show you this right now. But I do want to say too, people across the aisle. I'm Hispanic. I have friends that are black. Everybody is saying, look, the Democratic Party is done with. They're too much pandering. They've lied too much. And the machine that they've been trying to run, where they had Joe Biden in, they thought they could switch out with Kamala Harris. They thought Barack Obama would come in and save the day. They thought Bill Clinton would come and save the day. And none of it is working. John Reppy, thank you so much for the super chat. Everybody show John some love in the chat. Check this out.
Machine that snatched the nomination from Biden and gave it to Kamala, already rusting out. Democrats told us the machine was running on joy, but that only lasted a couple of weeks. The only joy left in the party, Joy Reid and Baier, and they're angrier than ever.
We also know that if Donald Trump does not win the election, he will not concede, and he will proceed to try to bring us to civil war. If Donald Trump does win, there won't be Democrats go back and figure out how to get more voters and figure out how to change your positions. There will be camps. There will be Project 2025. There could be arrests of people like Adam Schiff. There could be Nancy Pelosi being hauled off to jail.
Starting wars and arresting opponents kind of sounds more like Biden than Trump. I'm sure the other Joy will have a more measured approach.
Right. I mean, he wants to send the military to attack liberals if he gets in. I think that to say that he's a fascist is completely accurate. I mean, it does fit the definition. He wants to send the military in to attack his opponents. I mean, what more do you really need to hear?
All right. After 2 assassination attempts, they're calling him a fascist. When you call someone a dictator, wackos are going to take a shot so they can be heroes. But Trump isn't just a dictator.
No.
He's a dictator on acid.
I mean, look, I know that Donald Trump says he doesn't drink, but this feels like drunken behavior. I think he's probably microdosing, like his friend Elon Musk. It's astonishing behavior, and it's irrational. And if we're exhausted about this campaign, imagine how Donald Trump is feeling. He seems like he's just lost the plot.
Okay, the Democrat machine's malfunctioning because Trump's up in the polls and making historic gains with blacks and Hispanics. The media doesn't know how to handle it.
Look, let me boil this election down in the African-American community to a very simple, I'll reference the great Malcolm X. This race is between House African-Americans and field African-Americans. And the field African-Americans are going for Donald Trump.
Are you denigrating African-American men who are professionals who work in white-collar jobs? Is that what I'm hearing from you, or?
No.
I'm just trying to understand, is Shelley the House
woman
or the field woman? I'm just trying to understand that part. I'm just trying to understand. We have someone who's spitting. I'm just trying to understand the one that's spitting talking points right now. Are you the House Negro or the field Negro that you're referring to?
Y'all hear this?
Oh, God.
God.
When Democrats start losing, then they just scold you like a child.
Latinos believe and they know that President Trump is not a racist.
Oh,
He's
really?
a business owner.
That's why he got investigated by DOJ for not ranking
I'm on the Trump 47 bus. I'm a Latino.
That means that
he
you're
has
okay.
me on that bus.
That means you're okay with racism.
No,
it doesn't mean he's not racist.
Absolutely not.
We're going to leave it there.
All right, so not only are you a racist, you have no self-respect.
Wow.
He has chosen to become an absolute racist when it comes to speaking of particularly Latin undocumented immigrants, comparing them basically to animals. It's horrifying. I don't know how any Latino person of any self-esteem, any self-respect would be in favor of.
You may not know about it, Geraldo.
Wow. Poisoning the blood of the country.
More Latinos are voting for Donald Trump or polling for Donald Trump now than in 2016 and in 2020. He's on to something.
So Geraldo and Navarro say Hispanics are racist and have no self-respect. Obama and Biden say black Trump voters, you ain't black. And the Joys say Trump's going to stuff libs in work camps. Does that sound like a winning message?
Nope.
Rachel Campos Duffy's a Fox and Friends weekend co-host and host of the new show, Fox Noticias, live at 4 p.m. on Fox Deportes and on YouTube. We'll get to that in a second. Have you ever seen the viciousness and the hatred of each other?
It's crazy.
In the Democratic Party.
They're imploding,
They're short-circuiting. They think they own these demos, blacks and Hispanics, and blacks and Hispanics are not doing what they said they're supposed to do or they're telling them to do, and they don't know how to react. I looked at, the comments from Ana Navarro, for example. I mean, this is somebody who's living in another era, and they still want to talk about everything from the perspective of race. And the truth is, if you listen to that interview, I listened to that whole interview, it's actually really interesting. The other guy is talking about economics. He's like, we like Trump because he's a businessman. Latinos like to start businesses. They start businesses at 3 times the rate of any demographic. Latinos want to feed their families. They're really concerned about, putting food on the table. So they're talking about class and economics. But Ana Navarro and the Democrats want to talk about race, and they're just confused as to why this isn't working anymore, because it worked for a long time, but it's not working in this election. And they're saying, you better vote for us, even if we have an unqualified candidate.
And class is much more powerful than race in this country. Always has been. Always will be. Tell me more about Fox Noticias. Where can I see this?
Well,
guys, let me tell you this. The Democrats are imploding. Kamala Harris is as close to dropping out as she ever was. The polling is showing on all fronts. I mean, the Democrats haven't done this bad in a long time. And the thing about it is that it's undeniable. It's not that just Trump is winning and the other person is losing, because remember, 2016, it was still close. But now the betting markets are showing Trump's winning big time. Swing state polling is showing that Donald Trump is winning big time. When you look at the entire scope of all the polling, Trump is kicking Harris's butt big time, and it's not just with his normal base. It's with now more black voters, now more Latino voters, now more women. Why? Because it's all common sense policies. The left has become so far progressive. They've removed themselves from being moderate and center to what America wants. And just because, I love it, if you don't just stand blindly with the Democrats, if you're Hispanic or if you're black, now you're racist, now you don't know what you're losing your mind, all this stuff. They start name calling. And then you talk about how, well, they say Donald Trump is so bad for name calling when they're name calling their own party. I love it because the truth is coming out, and I'm so thankful for it, that people are seeing what's actually happening behind the scenes. And with this new interview, Kamala Harris is just done for. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Want to say thank you to everybody that's watching. If you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button so I can serve you every day with the top news. And want to say thank you to everybody. If you haven't hit the like button, please hit that thumbs up like button. It really does help out. Want to welcome the new family members to the family. Like Mr. Tracy J. Norby said, we're a crazy family. Yeah, we are. But guess what? We put that American flag first. Joyce Massa, Brenda Burciago, Tess Birdwell, Lay Lewis, welcome to the family. Thank you so much to the British Perspective, Must Love Dogs, Terry A. Niles, Lay Lewis, Mr. Tracy J. Norby, John Reppy for the super chats. Y'all showed them some love in the chats. It is an honor to do this for you all. It is an honor to serve you every single night with the top news. Sandra Marioenzi, love you all in the chat. Y'all have a wonderful night. I'm telling you, good things are coming. I can feel it. Josie, you have a good evening too. Y'all take care.